creation. Hello, Malcolm here, and welcome to Quiet Time Coaching. This is episode 526, and it's part 18 of the New Creation series. Today, New Creation, New Direction, part 1. The whole premise of this series is that God is loving us into spiritual character growth. The inspiration, of course, for that spiritual character is Jesus. We are being transformed into his likeness. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 18, and all of us with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord, the Spirit. How does this transformation happen? A key aspect is following Jesus. In other words, living as a disciple. You see, following Jesus changes us, and indeed those changes help us to follow him. It's a virtuous kind of cycle there. So today, before we talk about following a bit more next time, some thoughts on the cost of not following Jesus. It might sound a bit negative, but I think it's important. Think about the way that Jesus invited people to follow him in the Gospels and the responses he received. Some of the invitations Jesus issued certainly sounded rather attractive, didn't they? Perhaps you can think of some of those. For example, followers will find life. They will find light. They will never be thirsty. They will become cared for and protected sheep, and many more. Perhaps you might even like to pause this and write down some of the wonderful things that Jesus offers to those who follow him. Some invitations, however, were not so attractive. They were rather challenging. Again, can you think of some? Maybe stop for a moment and jot some of these down. They might make good issues for prayer. But for example, can you drink the cup? Those who follow have to drink a difficult cup. You must lay down your life if you are to follow. You must take up your cross if you're to follow. And for the rich ruler, for example, the cost was too high, wasn't it, in Luke chapter 18? When he heard this, the instructions of Jesus, he became sad, for he was very rich. The problem really wasn't so much that he was rich, but that his riches materially blinded him and captured him and trapped him so that he couldn't see the riches of following Jesus, which of course looked rather different. So here's a thought for today to meditate on, to contemplate, and perhaps to pray over. Firstly, what attracted you to following Jesus in the first place? What was it about him, his invitation, the things you learned about him, what you saw in the Gospels, what other people taught to you about him, what attracted you to following Jesus? It's helpful to identify that because it can help us to then reset our heart on following him, even through the more difficult and costly times. And perhaps you also might want to reflect, think back to when you started following Jesus. What was the highest cost of following him at the time? And then lastly, most challengingly, have you ever felt like leaving him because the cost was too high? Are you even feeling like that now? You're tempted to stop following because of the cost. I have been there many a time in my almost 40 years of following Jesus. I don't think you can really follow Jesus without having experiences like that, but it's good to be honest about it and then take it to God in prayer. So that's my encouragement today. Take these issues to the Lord in prayer. What attracted you to following Jesus? What was the highest cost? And what to do now if you feel like it's too high, even at this time. Next time we'll go on to talk a bit more about this, but between now and then, I do hope and pray that you have a wonderful day following Jesus. Take care and God bless.